Zali Steggall pushing plant-based rubbish. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian here and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Unfortunately, I was on Twitter and I saw this post. I really get sick of Twitter. It is a lot. There's a lot of politicians on there that are just embarrassing, particularly a lot of the ones in Australia here, particularly the teals, you know, the soccer mum crowd. Let's have a look at this. This post from Zali Steggall. Did you know that switching one pack of mints per week for a plant-based alternative saves 48 kilograms of CO2 emissions? Now, I seriously doubt that. I would challenge that claim 100% because plant-based is not that energy efficient, guys. And anyway, 196 kilometers in your average car. Yeah, sure. Maybe if you've got a $60,000 bloody Tesla car. So she's talking to a constituent here, CEO of whatever plant food business, helping Australians make the transition to plant-based meat. Now, I advocate for a carnivore lifestyle. I advocate for avoiding seed oils and plant-based products. They're not healthy for you. They're processed rubbish. They're never going to be as good as the real thing. And they're going to cause a lot of health issues. Why do you think all of a sudden we've got diabetes going through the moon? Look at the American diet. It's predominantly carbohydrates. Okay, even the people that eat meat are predominantly a carbohydrate-based diet. You want to do one thing to improve your life, just cut out the sugar. But this is wrong. We've looked at it years ago, and I actually did a video on the actual impact of veganism. If you were a vegan for an entire year, how much would that equal in carbon credits? $5. Completely worthless. Complete waste of time. So I'm going to turn over to that earlier video from Florian from a couple of years ago, and, well, you'll see how great I've gotten the last few years, and we'll let him finish up. Check that video out if you haven't seen it. Take care. I'll see you then.
Hello everyone and welcome to this episode of HeiseSays. I've got my stein of coffee and I thought we'd talk about environmental veganism as a response to some comments and criticisms I received on my other videos. Also, I heard that the election has been called, so exciting times. I better get my Minor Matters series progressed. So this is an article from Longborg from 2018 and I won't read through the whole thing. I've read through it before, but we'll go down here. Reading the popular press on this topic, you find plenty of articles suggesting that eliminating meat consumption could cut greenhouse gas emissions by 50% or more. That's massive. It's also massively misleading. Importantly, the 50% reduction in emissions is achieved by going a lot further than vegetarianism. It requires going completely vegan. So this is 100% vegan, which means stopping eating and using any animal products, eating and using. You know, all the vegans that are morally superior to us meat eaters, yet they still use products that are derived from animals. Milk, eggs, honey, meat, poultry, seafood, fur, leather, wool, gelatin, and much else. This is not going to be mainstream dietary and lifestyle regime anytime soon. It might be if all the animals die out in a post-apocalyptic nuclear war, but still. So still, the media suggests that going vegetarian can achieve a reduction of 20 to 35% in an individual's personal emissions. But these are not a person's entire emissions. They are those emitted just from food. 4/5 of emissions are ignored. 4/5 are ignored, which means the impact is actually 5 times lower. So if we turn to the academic literature on emission cuts from going vegetarian, a systematic survey of peer-reviewed studies shows that a non-meat diet will likely reduce an individual's emissions by the equivalent of 540 kilograms of CO2. For the average person in the industrialized world, this means cutting emissions by just 4.3%. Now, that kind of sounds impressive, but it really isn't. And one thing they don't take account of isn't mentioned in here. Oh, it is actually mentioned in here, the rebound effect. So we'll just read a little bit more before we pull this apart. But this still overstates the effect because it ignores an age-old and well-described economic phenomenon known as the rebound effect. Vegetarian diets are slightly cheaper And saved money will be spent on other goods and services that cause additional greenhouse gas emissions. In the United States, vegetarians save about 17%, UK 15% of their food budgets. A Swedish study shows a vegetarian diet is 10% cheaper, freeing up about 2% of an individual's total budget. That extra spending will cause more CO2 emissions, which the study concludes will cancel out half the effect, so half the saved emissions from going vegetarian. So he's saying about 2%, which I'm not looking at. We'll just stick with this. Okay, so, the rebound effect. There you go. But I would add another point. What about increased CO2 emissions due to changes resulting from the diet? What about the production of all of the pills that you need, the transportation of all the supplements? But anyway, that's not what this video is about. This is about the environmental veganists and how it is pointless. So 540 kilograms a year. Now, what's the price of carbon? Now, this is just a website I found online. It's a hippie blog and fighting climate change through everyday lives. Okay, and they've got two prices here, and I thought we'd just use them as a good example. So, carbon neutral charitable fund, we plant trees for the planet. So, $25 at 13 tons. So, okay, that's to offset trees, but $25 per ton of CO2. So, they're probably $12 to offset your half ton for the year. Okay, $12. And we'll assume this is in the US, and there's maybe they're making a commission on it, but it doesn't matter. So, and 15 trees, and I'm not advocating for these organizations because frankly you can plant your own bloody tree. Absorbs so about 2 trees. What's that? 780. So there's 2 examples. Now I went down a rabbit hole. I thought, okay, these are 2 examples about carbon offset. But what about carbon offset here in Australia? And I discovered this. Pardon me. I need a bit of stein. Okay, and this is from the Carbon Market Institute, and I'll link to it all on my website. So at the Centre of Climate Change, Policy and Business in Australia, the Carbon Market Institute, is dedicated to helping business seize opportunities in rapidly evolving carbon markets, independent and non-partisan. Just remember that. We are the peak industry body for climate change and business. We believe that market-based solutions are the most effective policy mechanisms to address the challenge of climate change. We share knowledge and facilitate connections between businesses, policymakers, and thought leaders to drive the evolution of carbon markets toward a significant and positive impact on climate change. Now that sounds good. I agree with that. I also think that the market is the way to deal with these issues. But I think marketing can cause problems with allowing the market to deal with these issues because people are manipulated by the media. People just have a shallow, bird's eye headline, look at something. So they want to engage leaders, shape policy, and drive action. We're connecting insights and catalyzing opportunities to transition to a low carbon economy. So, good on them for trying. And, that's their business. And this is their website here. So they're nonpartisan, Labor. So, they've got all of them on April Fools, the Greens climate policy. So they're putting the 3 big parties up there as their climate policy. I'd like to see some others there. But let's have a look at the climate market that they're actually talking about. Some of the projects that are being offset. So this is the Australia's carbon project registry. So these are projects that are done to offset. I'm just taking a screenshot over here, and I'll jump to the website at the moment, and we'll have a look at some of it. We'll jump through. It's a bit slow. These are the vegetation projects. You can see here, agriculture. There's one. Energy efficiency. There's none here. Industrial fugitives. Savanna burning. Now this is an interesting one. Savanna burning. And then just the different types of credits. So we'll have a look at some of these different types of projects to get a bit of an understanding of them. So this is the Yarra Yarra Biodiversity Corridor, and they get 1.2 million tons of CO2, and they're the gold standard credits. Okay, and the Yarra Biodiversity Corridor is a multi-species native reforestation project located in southwest Australia. So it's a reforestation project, a tree planting project to generate carbon. Now the problem is if it gets cleared, all that carbon gets released. So then do you take the credits back off the people? But I mean, I like forests. It's good. Increase wildlife habitation and connectivity, employment for local Indigenous people and liaison with traditional owners, carbon sequestration, improve soil and water erosion control, creating new industry in rural areas, and expenditure with local businesses. I mean, so they've got some good points here. This is an example of one project, essentially a mammoth revegetation project, and that's how they capture the carbon. So they're sequestering it. It's called nature. Now let's look at another project. This one here is a Paraway pastoral beef herd management project. So the vegans who are all up in arms, you could, frankly, just to be a troll, you could offset your carbon that all the vegans achieve by buying $10 of credits, and you might even be buying credits from a beef herd management project. Okay, they don't give any details about it because it's commercial in confidence, but I just think that's beautiful. I really do. Now, let's have a look at the savanna burning projects, because I naturally thought, won't that be releasing more carbon into it? And here's one, it's a small one, 10 tons of CO2. Clean energy regulated to the Northern Territory. And this project involves strategic and planned burning of savanna areas in the high and low rainfall zones during the early dry season to reduce the risk of late dry season wildfires. So it's a risk reduction strategy. Okay, it's a risk reduction strategy. And here's another one. So it's the Willingin fire project, and I probably butchered that. So they get 35,000 tons of CO2 that they can sell. So think about that. How much is that worth? Wait, we'll do the 35. Oh, wait a minute, I gotta go up here, jumping around. We'll do the calculations right here. We'll do it. Oh, I'll do it here then. Okay, so equals 35,000. What am I doing here? Times 25. Oh, come on. Wait a minute. I'm doing Excel bloody things. There you go. So it's $875,000 worth of carbon credits at the retail market, which probably is nowhere near accurate, but it just gives you an idea that there's a bit of money to be made in this. So the project is located in the Willingin Indigenous Protected Area in the Kimberley in northern WA. So it's owned and managed by traditional owners. The project uses indigenous traditional knowledge and modern scientific processes to conduct early dry season burns, which reduce the amount of greenhouse emissions released in the atmosphere from unmanaged wildfires in the late dry season. Traditional owners are trained and employed as fire specialists and rangers. Funds from the sale of carbon credits are reinvested into ongoing fire management operations. Okay, so let's have a look at these type of projects. I mean, it shows you here. Now, I was a bit confused with this because, I mean, what they're doing is just something you would do anyway. Okay, it's something you would do anyway. So people are paying to do this fire management, which should be done anyway. And I mean, the fact that we're learning from traditional owners, the Aboriginals, who traditionally managed this land, what are we talking? If they did that up until we colonized Australia about 200 years ago, give or take, there's been just the 200-year window where this hasn't been done as much or as efficiently. I mean, because we backburn. So is this really innovation? I would argue it's not. I would think it's fantastic that we're doing it. We don't want what happened in California. We want the greenies and hippies to be on side with scrub burning because it is really important. But is this innovative? I need to look into it a bit further, but do they get the credits every year they do it? Every year do they sell the credits? Well, yeah, no, it is per year. So per year they're getting the credits for doing it, but they're not innovating. Maybe you get the credits for doing it once, the first time, and then it just becomes standard practice. And what if, because remember, it's just risk mitigation. What if there aren't any fires here? Or what if the amount of fires are less than would be anticipated by the carbon offset? So it's all just a bit up in the air, you know? So that really got me questioning this whole carbon credit system. And I will do another video on it later. But yes, let me know what you think, everyone. Do you think it's all a bit of a con? There's nothing. If we jump back to the website here, there is nothing. Where are the energy efficiency? What do we got? Well, they haven't registered anything, but I know we don't have any nuclear power plants here in Australia. Where's the research into fourth generation nuclear plants? Because then, you know, you get a whopping offset there. So, yes, being an environmental vegan, or being a vegan for environmental reasons, or claiming that you are going to have a better outcome for the environment, is worth about $10 a year. $10 a year in carbon. And some of that carbon is done by burning scrub in the, you know, outback Australia that would have been done anyway. I mean, good on them. They're in some ways, I'm happy that they're being innovative and turning what they would normally do anyway. Okay, this is not like this wouldn't happen. What they would normally do anyway, even before we colonized Australia, the Aboriginals were doing this into a money-making scheme. So that is fantastic. That's brilliant, and it's good to see. I would encourage more of the regional communities to do that because, I mean, come on, guys. If a trendy hipster in New York is going to sip a latte and think that they're offsetting their credits, the money will go into remote Australia, and maybe, hopefully, it's going to more burning activities, but hopefully they'll earn a bit more and be able to, you know, stimulate employment. It will flow down. It'll trickle down. So that's a great thing. But I'm a bit disappointed. There's no innovation in it. It's not really innovative. It's not really innovative. And then the danger is you become complacent. So guys, thank you for joining me for this episode. Please like, share, and subscribe. Ding the bell to see my daily updates. And let me know what you think about carbon credits. Have you ever bought any? Do you remember the first time you could offset the carbon on a plane and thought, what, $5? This is a joke. Because I know I did. Thanks, everyone. See you later. Bye for now.